Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you doing today? Dzień dobry, ciao, hola, ¿qué tal? Hope you're well. It's Ask JA Tuesday. For those of you that have never been before, well, welcome. Where have you been? Why haven't you been here? You should be here at 10 o'clock every day. I am waiting for you to join me. So please do. On a Tuesday, we always ask questions of you. What are your property related questions? What would you like to know? What's that burning thing that you're thinking? How can I do this? What's the best way to do that when it comes to property? So please do feel free to drop us a direct message, email us, whatever's a convenient way of contacting us. Of course, you can do the old-fashioned thing and phone us, 0208 679 8601, and ask your property-related questions. We'll try and answer them for you here live every Tuesday. Now, this week, a question came up on valuation, but it didn't come up as a question, actually. I went to see somebody, and they told me that they were going to look at several properties, having considered my valuation and several others. And I suggested that that wasn't the best use of their time if they wanted to make sure they get the best possible deal for themselves. So the question then is, I'm buying and I'm selling. How do I make sure I get the best possible deal for myself and my family? And one of the common misconceptions is that you need to find a property in order to initiate the move. And I get that. It's human nature, isn't it, to want to know where you're going before you get rid of what you're in. But in fact, the exact polar opposite is true. And what I mean by that is really, if you're looking for a property and you want to make sure you get the best deal, yes, you need to know what the price of yours is, what it's worth, really worth, not just what an agent's telling you, what they want to hear. You know, a lot of agents will give you a figure and it's just a pie in the sky figure. So do make sure that it's based on reality. And once you're grounded with that, the real figure, then you can go out knowing roughly what money you'll have in your pocket, give or take. And then you can look around. Now, when you look around, one of the problems with looking around physically is that it's quite likely that a member of your household might be quite emotive when they see that beautiful home with that lovely garden or that kitchen diner with the bifold doors and the island kitchen. I know, right? That's what you want, isn't it? And the problem with that is that once they've fallen in love with that property, then they will want to make an offer there and then. And if the agent is worth their salt and doing their job properly, then they'll be saying to you, what is your buying position? And if your answer is, I need to sell my own home before I buy, then that agent is unlikely to negotiate with you in terms of price. They're likely to say to you, look, you've got to offer the asking price. Why? Well, you're really not in a strong position, are you, to negotiate? Why? Because you can't move them. How does that agent know that your property is on for a realistic price and that your house will actually sell for the price that you expect? When all's said and done, many agents are lying about the price of property in order to get clients to sign up. Not all. There are some really good agents out there, but there are some that will lie to you on price to get you to sign up, and then you won't sell for a long time. And when that happens, the difficulty is the seller of the property you're looking at, how do they know whether that's you or not? Their agent has to do some research, of course, but the reality is that anyone that's actually selling and hasn't yet got a buyer is not really in a strong position to make an offer. So it's quite likely the agent will push you to the asking price. Even when they've got you to the asking price, their next response is probably this: my clients find your offer acceptable, but the property stays on the market until you're under offer. So now what have we actually gained here? Think about it. You're now paying the asking price for a property, which stays on the market, which means if someone's in a better position than you, i.e. sold or under offer or cash or a first-time buyer, you're going to lose it to them anyway. If nobody does, then you're probably thinking, well, was it a wise move? Nobody else wants it anyway. But the point is that if you reverse that conversation around and imagine the opposite is true, and you've gone the other way and you've said, right, I know what the value of my property is. Now I know exactly where I want to buy. And you research that. I'm not suggesting you don't do some research. Of course you do some research. You look online. And my advice is this: a simple way of starting your search is to go to an area you like, go to the road you like most, and then look at the road name, go back to Google and guess a road number. Guess number 10, Millwood Street, for instance. Put that into Google, and what you'll find is the postcode will come up. Ping that postcode straight into Rightmove, and then you'll be at the epicenter of the area that you want to look. And then search in the price range that you're hoping to find in and see what comes up. And if nothing comes up, then expand that search to a quarter of a mile around that area. Then still nothing, half a mile. And if you're still not finding anything, then you need to think about lowering your sights perhaps, or more money. More money is not an option for most of us, I know, but maybe other mortgage deals, maybe extend your mortgage term from 25 to 35 years. I know, common though. So there are things that you can do. Or finally, just, lower your sights and say, well, do I really need the garage? Does it really need to be detached? Do I really need a 100-foot garden? Only you can make those decisions. But by drilling it down to what's acceptable to you, you'll find out whether the move is doable from where you are to where you want to be. Once you know that, that's the time then to be marketing your property and not to be putting offers on other properties. Or in fact, I'd even say don't bother viewing. These days, with all the quality tools at your disposal, you've got virtual tours, you've got floor plans. Most agents now are doing better photos than they used to. Some are atrocious, I know, but they are better than they used to be. So you can get a really good idea without actually physically going through a door of what's out there. And then get yourself under offer. When you're under offer, then you go to the agents and then you say, I'm under offer, what have you got? And when somebody comes into our office and says, I'm under offer, what have you got? I'm thinking about three things. I'm thinking, number one, this is a hot buyer. And in my mind's eye, this buyer is hotter than a first-time buyer. Yes, you heard that right. A second-time buyer is hotter than a first-time buyer. Why? Number one, they've jumped through hoops to get here. They've had to have us horrible estate agents around, commit to selling and jump through the hoops of keeping their house tidy and everything else. And they probably quite like their buyer and they don't want to let them down either. And they're driven forward by all these things. So now they're committed in all these different ways, whereas first-time buyers can be fickle. They can say, well, yeah, maybe not. It's not the same driving force. So in many ways, those second-timers are better than first-time buyers. I tell you how else they're better too. Second-time buyers understand the shortcomings of where they live right now. And what that means is that when a little bit of damp comes up on the survey, or the surveyor says perhaps there's a bit of rewiring needs doing, they're much less likely to flee and get scared and say, oh, I can't buy that, I'm really frightened, because they live in a home already and they know the shortcomings of that one. So overall, I think second-time buyers are very underrated in terms of quality by agents. So when somebody that's actually under offer comes into our office, we're thinking three things. Number one, what have I seen this week which is coming onto the market or could potentially come onto the market? So I'm thinking about that for them, even though they don't know and I can't necessarily mention it to them. That's in the back of my mind. I'm going to call my client and say, look, I've got this buyer that's registered with us and this is what's good about them. What do you think? Can we show them? So that's number one. Number two, of course, I'm thinking about all of our existing clients and offering them everything that we have within their price range and perhaps up or down a peg or two if we can tempt them. And thirdly, I'm thinking, what about the sales that we've got under offer that are a little bit shaky? Maybe there's a survey done. Maybe the buyers are a bit hesitant. Maybe they've tried to chip a lot off the asking price. So, we may offer that as well. So if you're under offer, you will get the advantage of all these things. And what you want to be listed as, and we categorize buyers. People walk in here and they say, I've got a property to sell. What have you got? First thing we're going to say is, what is your buying position? And if their buying position is, we've got a property to sell, which is not under offer, where can that lead us? They can't move our client, so they're not our priority. It doesn't mean we won't give them a good duty of care and a good service. We will, but it does mean we won't offer them the latest instructions straight away where we would to an A-listed buyer. The first thing we're going to do when a new instruction comes on the market, we're going to go down the A list. And only if the A-listers don't want it do we go to the B list. So consequently, if you've got a property to sell and you're looking and you feel like you're doing this loop of looking, there's nothing available, looking, there's nothing available, what you'll find is that once you go under offer, magically, things start coming out the woodwork because you're an A-listed buyer and agents start thinking, right, these guys can move my clients, So really important that you get yourself into that A-list position. The other thing that you can do with that position is you can use it as leverage. What I mean by that is if you've got an offer which is 5,000 lower than you expected or 20,000 lower than you expected, you're looking at that new house, you can say to that agent or that direct vendor, if you're dealing with them directly, if you're dealing with one of the less good agents, shall we say, you know who I'm talking about, don't you? Then you may be dealing with the client directly. And you can actually say to them, look, it's not that I don't think your property is worth what you're asking. I do. I think it's worth exactly what you're asking. Difficulty is I thought mine was worth a little bit more than I've actually achieved. Therefore, I've got 25,000 less than I expected on mine. But here's my agent's details. We're all ready to go. We've got first time buyer our end. We can move you. But the offer is lower. Now, that leverage is massive. and can make the difference. I'm not saying it will always make the difference. Look, if the property is really popular, you may have to go the money, but one thing's for sure, you have a better chance of getting it if you're under offer every time. So don't miss out. Don't do it the wrong way around. And I think as agents, we often forget that second timers, i.e. people that have bought a property and for the first time are selling that property to buy another, they've never done this before. They may have bought, but that was as a first time buyer. So now you need this new skill of, number one, maximizing the price of what you're selling, and number two, minimizing the price of what you're buying. How do you do that? Well, number one, when you're actually selling, you don't want the pressure of that house that you're trying to get to, because the family's imagining themselves in that garden having a barbecue, and therefore the first offer that comes along, even if it's lower than the price you were hoping to achieve, you think, I've got to take it, must take it, because if I don't, what's going to happen? It's going to be, the other property is going to be taken by someone else. That pressure will make you accept an offer which you don't necessarily have to. Don't put yourself in that position. Sell first. The first offer that comes along, you do not have to accept. Take your time. Make sure that you've exhausted the market. Make sure you've had those viewings. Make sure you're satisfied that this is the best price that's reasonably achievable in today's market. And the market is strong, but still people want the best deal they can get. And if they feel or sense that you're in a real hurry, that sense of urgency can really work against you. Sometimes it's better to just relax and breathe and say, okay, let's take it in stages. Number one, let's sell our property, get it under offer. Number two, then re-register with all the agents you've already spoken to and others and say, look, we're under offer. Bing, you're straight to the A-list. Then they're really thinking about you. And the last thing I'd recommend, once you've done that and you've decided on there, you've drilled it right down to those few streets that you really like to live and you can afford to be there, go to those areas, pop into the agents. We like to see people. We're a people business, even in these COVID days with masks and screens and everything else. We're a people business. And sometimes we can have as many as 5 or 10 people chasing the same property. And just to get to know the personalities of people looking does make you think about them, because we're all only human. And when a couple pop in and see us and we see their children and, maybe their dog or whatever it is coming into the office, you do feel about them slightly differently. And you think, who's that person we met the other day? The one that needs the big garden because of the Alsatian. John, John and Frida, let's go and get them. They'd love to see this one. So you do really think about those people first. So I always say, when you have the time, and you won't always get a great response from agents because all agents aren't as nice as us, but many of them are. We're not demons. And I appreciate as well, something that someone pointed out the other day that I hadn't thought about is that we can be quite intimidating places as estate agents. It's not intentional. Certainly not with us. We actually want you to come in, feel comfortable, to come in, sit down, chat about your dreams and aspirations for your next property, chat about what you want from a selling agent, if that's what you need right now. Whatever your needs are, we want you to come in here and feel like James Alexander have got your back, whether you're buying, selling or renting. And I'm sure there are lots of other agents out there like us. But the important thing is go out there, look around once you're under offer. Don't do too much of that until you are actually under offer. I hope that's helpful to you. Apart from that, absolute stonker of a day out there. Really hot again. It was hot last night, wasn't it? Did you manage to sleep? Just about. Aircon on, off, on, off. And then those mornings when you get in the shower and you get out of the shower and then you start to sweat again. What's that about? How does that happen? I hate that. And then you think, what do I do now? Get back in the shower again? Drives me mad. Anyway, rant over for the day. Apart from that, busy day on valuations. Lots of new instructions. We've got a photo shoot today, one tomorrow, and some good new instructions coming up for you. We've just taken on new auction lot as well in Thornton Heath. Great little investment buy for a buy-to-let investor. So lots of things going on here. Hope you have a great day. And that's it for Ken at 10, Ask JA Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow for another Ken at 10. Have a fantastic day.